You're just going to look at me. So that we have it on the recording, let's just start with say and spell your first and last name.
Tracey, Tracy, Kozak, Kozack.
Talk about what first attracted you to being a part of St. Vincent de Paul.
It's the work that we do, the volunteering that we do here has been a dream of mine that I just never knew how to approach it or get interested in. When we started going to church here about 4 years ago, I heard about St. Vincent de Paul, and I would go to a few meetings and finally got, what I say, brave enough to go on house calls. And the more I do, the more I want to do. So it's very rewarding.
What did you know about St. Vincent de Paul before that, before you got involved?
Very little. I would ask questions here and there, and there's so much to do here that I knew that was an area that I wanted to get into. Until I started going to meetings and learning more about it, I didn't know very much about what St. Vincent de Paul was all about. And it's wonderful. It's been a wonderful experience.
Because of the work that we do all across the country, things like food pantries and transitional housing and all of these things, people think of us in that social service arena, but there's a spiritual component that happens in meetings and retreats and other things. Talk about that spiritual side of the society.
Well, absolutely there is, and it has strengthened my faith and belief in my faith in the church, and become closer to other Vincentians. And I had no idea that it would do that for me and grow my Christianity. The more I do here, the closer I feel connected to God, and I had no idea that would be the gift from joining St. Vincent de Paul.
You use a good word there, gift. You probably at some point told a family member or friend about going on a home visit, and they've looked at you and went, "You do what now?"
Right.
But there's a blessing in that for the Vincentian to be in that moment with those folks, isn't there?
Absolutely, and I almost felt, at one point I felt almost guilty because I saw myself doing it because it made me feel good, me. and actually that's all what it's all about. It helps strengthen my belief and faith and being a part of and belonging, because I do belong. And it took me a while to, I'm not being selfish because I feel like I'm doing this for myself. It just happens. The more I feel I get more out of it, absolutely, than what our clients get out of it. And for a while, it kind of made me feel guilty about that, but that's what it's about. The more I give, the more I feel closer to God, and you want to do more and more and more. And I'm so grateful that I stepped out of my comfort zone to actually be a part of St. Vincent de Paul. I can't see myself ever wanting to stop doing this. It's just wonderful.
And it's something that when you go on a home visit, you go in pairs. And for you, you get to go with your husband. What is that like to be able to do something so spiritual and so person to person with people in need together?
Together, it's wonderful, and it's not always just my husband. It's with other members as well. Every situation is a little different, and we're able to share it together is one thing. But also when I do home visits with others, or he does home visits with others, it's something that we can share and talk about together.
Do you think about the folks that you have visited? Do you pray for them?
I absolutely do. I can always remember my first home visit, and I didn't know what I was going into. I was very nervous. I actually went with two other members and just kind of sat back to see. Two of them were handicapped, and one had just gotten laid off, and I was just awed by the help that we were able to give them to help him through this hard time with his family. And it's, like I said, it's an extraordinary experience, something I've never experienced before in my life. And I'm so grateful.
You meet people that may be struggling to keep food on the table or the lights on, but they might be depressed, sad, lonely. They may not want you to leave when you start to talking to them.
Yeah, and in my experience so far, they're very grateful that we're there. They actually don't show. The ones that we've helped have been have a lot of faith, a strong faith, and haven't experienced the depression from them. I'm sure they do, but they're just so grateful that we're there, and they pray with us as we leave. And um, that's what amazed me, is that in their condition, um, in my personal house calls that I've done, they're just grateful that we're there, and they don't seem depressed. They're just, they know they're in a bad spot, and they're grateful that we can help them get into a better place.
How do you prepare for a home visit? You have your case file. You'll read the notes.
Yes, sir.
What else do you do to be ready for when we knock on the door tonight at 6? How do you prepare yourself?
Well, we definitely start with a prayer, the team that's going, and ask God to just, use us according to His will, and that's probably the strongest preparation right there that I can share with you, because we know a little bit about what we're going into and how we need to help them, and so God takes control of that visit.
You knock on the door as strangers,
Yes.
but 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes later, how do you leave these homes?
We've made a new friend. We've helped them in kind of going over their budget a bit and offering them more advice on other resources that they can tap into. And I just want to hug them and be grateful that they let us come into their house to help them.
So for the Vincentian who sees this story,
Yes, sir.
who sits there in their conference and been a member for weeks, months, years, but hasn't gone on a home visit, what would be your word of encouragement, your invitation for them to try this in their own conference, in their own community?
Oh, it's the best blessing and deepest joy I've ever felt, honestly, in my entire life. To finally be a part of it. I've always wanted to do it. And I stepped out, and like I said before, I just want to do more and more and more. It's absolutely fulfilling. And I would ask everyone just try it. It's a gift. It truly is a gift to be a part of such a wonderful opportunity.
Thank
Way
you for
more than I ever imagined.
Thank you for all you're doing with the society.